Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Flatsy. No, it's not, it's Sensual Goat. We're also joined by Neil, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
Let's get it on.
Good morning.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon, it's good to be here. An evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge. That's a horizon formerly known as Earth curve.
Refraction.
Did you say refraction?
Yeah, I showed someone the Black Swan yesterday, and he said I don't understand refraction. And when I asked him if the horizon's refracted, then it's not geometric. He refused to answer me after about an hour. I've been asking him. Typical stuff.
Yeah, these idiots didn't understand it in 2020 and they don't understand it in 2025. The moment you bark refraction, you lose. You no longer have a geometric horizon. They're idiots. They won't get it in another 5 years. Neil was right. We all said, how long will it be before they realise that refraction destroys their paradigm? And I was like, I'll take maybe 6 months, maybe 8 months. Q was like, nah, yeah, at least a year, probably a couple of years. Neil was like, they'll never get it. Ever. Right, Neil?
That's correct. I was correct on that. They still won't get it. They never will.
Maybe. Well, it's been 5 years. They're still begurking refraction.
Well, no. Well, if they get it, they have to concede then. So that's why they won't get it. They don't want to get it.
Absolutely.
So I would like to know how the audio sounds today. So I'm trying out a new microphone. New to me. It's actually about 20 years old. So it's the company that Jay-Z ended up buying and turning into Jay-Z microphones, originally called Violet Design. So this is their small diaphragm condenser, and it is, for want of a better word, absolutely beautiful. Not in terms of its audio performance, but in terms of its visual appearance, it is beautiful. So this designer, I can see why Jay-Z wanted it, was a jeweler. So also worked in medical and created capsules for medical reasons, went on to be a jeweler and then microphones. And then Jay-Z bought him, and now it's disappeared, as far as I'm aware, as of about a couple of months ago, actually. So I got it dirt cheap, because it's about a 20-year-old, maybe 15-year-old example of a Violet Designs microphone. And like I say, I want to see if I can get it to work, first and foremost. So I'll be trying it out for the next 2 or 3 days on these live streams. My concern with this particular mic is that I'll get too much spill. That is to say, when I'm talking, if someone's talking at the same time as me, it might sound echoey when they're rumpusing me, as fussy and finicky as that may sound. You mean you're concerned about how bad or good they sound when they're rumpusing you? Yeah, I know, people accuse me of just muting them. I know. Anyway, that's enough waffle up for the live audience. The people in the pre-show have had it for about 20 minutes straight. So no Earth curve then, just refraction. What about scientific evidence of gravity? No? No scientific evidence of gravity? I'm surprised. Don't worry if you're watching live, there is something that we're going to be covering today. I should really have done the... I haven't fully set up. I'm so excited about my microphone. I forgot to set up the live stream chat on my live feed. So if someone does super chat, probably won't be able to put it on screen. I'm so sorry. But what I can do is cover a video that Brian Logic has suggested that we cover. He actually suggested it yesterday, but I didn't see his response till today. So, this is Sabine Hossenfelder, which I'll probably spelt wrong, but I will get right now when I cut and paste her name from her channel. As always, please let Sabine know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, as I steal... How did I spell it? Let's just see how far wrong I was, right? What did I put? Hossenfelder is what I got. Hossen. Oh, no, E-L. Oh, yeah, I did get it wrong. I'm sorry, Sabine. I didn't intentionally get your name right, but wrong, but I'll get it right now. So, yeah, I'll dig out a link in a second so you can all toddle along to Sabine's video to let her know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get eradicated by the YouTube bots. Hossen. Let's get it right. F-E-L-D. Is that right? F-E-L-D-E-R. And then, would it be apostrophe S for Hossenfelder's secret? I think it's apostrophe S, I'm going with it. Right, done. Okay, right, let's dig out a link for the audience's benefit. So this is, as always is the case, your opportunity now, and I do mean this sincerely when the link gets posted, to toddle along to Sabine's video in all sincerity and let her know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so she's made aware that we are covering her video in the politest possible way. Idea being that should she respond and do a video on us, she'd do the same for us and put a link to our video. Obviously massively beneficial if she was to do it, given that she's got millions of subscribers and we are but a tiny flat earth channel. But everybody likes sharing the YouTube algorithmic love. Everybody loves getting more views and more comments, so you will be assisting this particular YouTube videographer in that sense. I've got to say, she looks quite dashing in this. She looks quite pretty for a change.
Are you kidding me?
Did you not think
Did
she
you
looks quite
say the name
attractive?
of the video is Her Secret?
Well,
I agree.
Normally she looks quite butch, and in this particular shot she looks quite feminine. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just this camera angle. Maybe it's the lighting. Who knows?
I agree.
I think I can give her a compliment if I so desire. What of it?
Well, because I just put in chat, she won't mind. But
Well,
now
no,
you're
normally-
saying that she looks more feminine? I'd like to see
I
it.
would say so. Anyway, shouldn't really have done that, I'm sure. Oh my God, I hope Paula's not listening to this. Not my wife, Paula, Bible literalist. Bible you. I'm so sorry, Paula, if you're listening back. I know damn well you'll be in the after show modding this and shaking your head. I am so sorry.
To read you an email that I was asked to keep confidential. I've been thinking about this for a long time, but I now believe that reading it to you will go some way to explain why I'm worried about the status of scientific research generally, but especially in the foundations of physics.
Oh, we've already got a rumpus. Me's tree? Miss Tree? Very clever. You're right. Can we help?
Good morning. Are
Morning.
you having a meeting or what?
I run a live
I
show
don't
at this
need
time of
help.
day. I
I
run a
was
live
just
show.
saying good morning.
No, it's good to have you. How you doing?
Go on mute.
Don't be rude. How are you doing? Very nice to have you, Miss Tree.
I had a bad headache today. I was just listening. Thank you for asking, though, and I hope y'all have a good day.
Right back at you. What we typically do is cover a video. Not always, but sometimes. And that's what we're doing. So we're covering a lady named Sabine Hossenfelder.
I received this email about 7 years ago after I published a comment in Nature Physics titled "Science Needs Reason to be Trusted."
That's a straight up reification fallacy, isn't it? Science isn't an entity, and it doesn't require you put trust in it. The method of science is an empirical method that when establishing a cause of a naturally occurring phenomena, you can put this method to use to empirically validate a presumed cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. Now, that outcome is empirical. There's no faith, there's no trust. Now, what she's talking about is putting your faith in pseudoscience spewing nonsense merchants.
In it, I explained how I lost trust in scientific self-correction after I
No, it doesn't self-correct either, right? what happens is you can vary and manipulate that which you assume to cause an effect you observed in nature and see if it caused it or not. If it does, you've empirically validated that which you assume to be the cause as the cause of the effect you observed in nature. That's the scientific method. But what you questioned your trust in its self-correcting ability, it's a method. It doesn't self-correct. You just vary something you think causes an effect and see if it causes it or not. Self-correcting. What the hell is she babbling about?
Realized how much of what's published in the foundations of physics is nonsense and continues to be nonsense.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree. Well, at least we're agreeing on this statement.
This email came from someone who I've met a few times but don't know in any depth, and who at the time worked at a top institution in the United States. To honor the request of confidentiality, I've removed some details. Hi Sabine, I'm if you remember me. I'm
Sabine? We've been saying her name incorrectly. It's not that often people self-reference. So it's not Sabine, it's Sabine. Oh, okay, we've been saying your name wrong, I'm so sorry.
not using my work email.
Also,
the topic is a bit delicate.
She's using an anonymous source and she's not trustworthy. So as far as I'm concerned, this is all a load of crap.
Oh, you're saying in terms of the it can't be trusted that it's come from somebody high up in US government, and as far as you're concerned,
Yeah,
she's
she's
just
a
made it
liar.
up to self-reference it in this example, right?
Yeah, she's a disingenuous bitch, so I don't trust her.
No swearing. No need.
Sorry.
And I hope that our conversation will remain confidential. I'm contacting you regarding your recent paper in Nature, which made a lot of noise. First of all, congratulations on a nice paper. If you wanted to attract attention, you managed to do this. Actually, I'd like to ask you next time, think not only about short-term personal benefits, but about the community in general. You understand what consequences your publication might bring for our community? What are
Anybody know the backstory about what she's responding to? I mean, I would assume she's going to enlighten us on that in a moment, because as a random viewer of this video, I don't know any of the context. So far, well-written letter, regardless of if you suggest it's her that's writing it. When I read a letter back, the way it's been geared towards the reader, in this case her, with you and yours, and a lot of them, makes it sound like a really well-written letter. I just don't know the context, unfortunately.
are all these BSM model builders with exaggerated self-opinion going to do afterwards? What about experimentalists who survive hiding inside big multi-TV collaborations? Can you offer them all any decent employment alternatives? Some of them...
Okay. I mean, this sounds like something we shouldn't really be covering. Who suggested this, Brian? Okay.
have families and young children. Some of them are already too old to get employment elsewhere. For some of them, academia is the only way to get US visa. If you like, yes, what we created is a bubble, but it helps thousands of those guys and their families not to die from hunger.
Is this our bleeding heart for pseudoscience? What is this? Does anybody know what she wrote in Nature? I'm stretching here, I know I am.
We all do the same stuff and have some trade secrets. For example, I'm one of the authors of the so-called model. Pretty useless stuff, old refurbished with a couple of new blows and whistles. But if people buy this and it helps them to get grants, who cares? For people...
Okay. So it sounds like, contextually, this is a letter from somebody saying, look, you're knocking pseudoscience, and a lot of people put food on the table with this. That's what it seems like. Anybody else disagree? I'm putting together the context as we go.
That's exactly what it is, Nathan. Kind of don't steer the pot, don't question the higher-ups. And just one minor correction, it wasn't Brian. I shared it on the Skype with you guys, but it was shared with me, with my friend Enes Ibo the Noob, who's a member on Discord too. So I thought it was relevant, and it's a good video in my opinion. Check it out, man.
People who pay us all we do is just noise. They have zero idea that elementary particles exist. They pay us from public funds, not from their own, and basically pay for something cool, some new crazy hype, which they need either to include into their science spending reports or, in case of universities, to attract students. Your paper made a lot...
Science spending reports. Right, okay. None of them will be science. That was disclaimed at the beginning of the letter.
Lot of noise and most likely will affect redistribution of HEP funds towards other areas. But I doubt that you'll be able to suggest and implement any organizational changes. Also, any changes of quality criteria which would demonstrate uselessness of somebody's work will have zero chance of approval.
Okay, that's pretty self-condemning. I'm kind of... did you watch this already when you said it sounds like she's penned this? Because I'm starting to agree with you. I mean, being that's self-deprecating and saying, "Oh, look at my begging bowl. How dare you cast aspersions about us and our pseudoscience. This pseudoscience gets approved and we keep food on our table with it. So can you do something about it to find us new jobs?" Who would write this?
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was very interesting, man.
I understand that all what I wrote above might sound a bit harsh. Sorry for this. But this
Harsh? Self-deprecating?
is how our society is built. And this is not only a problem in the HEP community, but also exists in all other areas.
What's HEP? Anybody? Can someone have a quick Google search for HEP community? See what the hell she's referring to.
My heart is bleeding when I regularly see bright and intelligent persons with independent ways of thinking leaving academia or getting kicked out, whereas obedient idiots remain. But there's nothing we can do.
And there's me with a bowl of popcorn.
Those who get kicked out usually find better opportunities outside of academia.
Just had a note from QE. He says they can pick up cans along the side of the road. Supervised. Thanks, QE.
Those who remain in academia accept the rules and enjoy the comfort of academic life. Of course, sometimes there are exceptions, like string theorists Smolin and White, but I doubt you'd like to share their destiny.
Relieves any...
Well, I don't know about you, but I found that very amusing. I'm pretty sure she wrote that herself. I agree.
Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson.
I'm reading this to you
He used to start the show with a fake letter that was written into the show just to get things going.
Right.
Reminds me of that.
And Mr. Meadnam, something like that, right?
Needham.
Yeah. It'd start off a bit with, "Mr. Meadham writes, you guys don't cover enough supercars. Why haven't you got the new Ferrari on?" "Well, Mr. Meadham, we have got the new Ferrari. It's the best car in the world."
As an illustration, a rare example of somebody else's honest words. I can't prove to you that this email is real, so you'll have to take my word for it.
You see, if I get real emails, right, I very, very, very rarely see the need to disclaim the sincerity or genuine nature of said email. For example, when I say I've had several comments, now I might suggest if you go back to 2283, you might be able to find what I'm referring to, but you know who you are if I'm talking about your comment. This particular comment says, "Nathan is so handsome and awesome. I think he's wonderful. It's such a shame he's married." And then I'll refer back to that person and you'll say, "Oh, right, okay, so someone made that comment." What I don't do is go, "I made up a comment about someone telling me how wonderful and awesome and handsome I am. You'll just have to take my word for it. There's definitely that commenter. People are definitely just taking out that day to tell me how wonderful and handsome I am. Obviously, I'm not making this up, right?" I don't need to disclaim that, do I? If it's real, you just go from memory, read out the letter, do whatever it is, and then refer back to it. Not, "You'll have to take my word for it that this person that I've made up, who's very self-deprecating and apologising for how harsh they're being to themselves, and so useful at making your point, it would probably turn out, right? Sabina." Oh, this is brilliant. Fun, fun, fun.
In contrast to the person who sent this email, I don't think that taxpayers are stupid. We're not paying physicists for crazy new hype.
They're probably not physicists. Physicists would be dealing with the physical and natural world because that's what physics is. And it's exclusively dealt with by science and the scientific method because that's what physics is. The study of the physical and natural world. That's natural science adjudicated by the scientific method. Yeah, hence my criticism of whether or not these people would have a worthy job picking up cans when they're not actually abiding by that methodology. Go pseudoscientists, not physicists.
We want to see results, and soon taxpayers will start asking some tough questions. An example. So they told
I don't need to ask any questions. Just point out that you're not actually scientists. Then I get on with my day. You can then concern yourself about it as you are, Sabina.
you that this DUNE experiment that's being built from some
That's an interesting word you should use there. Right there, right there. Experiment. What? The elucidation of the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena by way of manipulation of a presumed cause of said effect, establishing the hypothesis. Like, if A, then B, A being your independent variable, being manipulated in the experiment. You don't do that, Sabine. Yeah? What you do is pseudoscience. You're not manipulating presumed causes of naturally occurring phenomena now, are you? You'd be one of those people, as QE puts it, out picking up cans along the side of the road, supervised. Rather than bullshitting people for taxpayers' money.
some billions dollars of public funds at Fermilab will tell us why we exist or why the universe didn't disappear. I regret to inform you that it won't do any such thing. Regardless of what the result of the DUNE experiment will be, it'll not tell us
It's not an experiment. It's fraud.
why the universe contains more matter than antimatter, because
And that's not a scientific endeavour.
this question is impossible to answer within the context of our current theory.
Meanwhile, step one of the scientific method only sets out to elucidate the cause of a observed phenomena. Step one, observe natural phenomenon. That's it. It's not a phenomena to study unless you've observed it. So when you say, oh, well, we can't even really do anything when we're asking a question about the substance and how much of something. Sounds a lot like maths in pseudoscience, reifications of worlds that don't really exist. I mean, what would I know? I'm but a flat earther, right?
Theories. The matter-antimatter symmetry that DUNE is supposedly shedding light on is a pseudo-problem. It's a story that physicists have made up that they're now selling to the public.
Yep, second time in this video we've agreed. Well, what do you know? Like buses, two come along at the same time after you've been waiting for ages.
Because they think that once they have the money, it doesn't really matter if they deliver what.
No, that's an appeal to motivation, my love. You don't know, do you? I don't know either. I can't divine the thoughts of these men when they get their paychecks. Oh, wonderful. I don't have to provide any scientific validity so long as the taxpayer keeps paying me as they rub their hands together. No, I have no idea. It's a fallacy. Appeal to motivation.
What they promised. Though, to be fair, I think that some of them are honestly confused about what CP violation.
Same fallacy. Now you're going to, appeal to their confusion? You don't know.
In the neutrino sector even says about antimatter. What will the experiment do? It'll measure some properties of neutrinos. What's that good for? It's good for keeping particle physicists employed.
Third time's a charm. Hat trick. Yeah, that's what it's good for. Precisely. Keeping, well, let's not call them something they're not when you call them physicists, but we've already dealt with that. But keeping them in a job, yeah, I'd agree.
Because some of them have families and it'd be...
Oh, should we get out a violin for the pseudoscience purveyors of nonsense and their families? I couldn't give a toss. I live on near poverty and have done for 10 years under severe ridicule for understanding and appreciating the measurements you included and every other person on the surface of the plane of Earth utilise. That'd be flatness. But apparently I've deserving of being in near poverty and ridicule constantly for the last 10 years. But my heart should bleed for the poor physicists. Maybe they can't heat the mansion.
Be unfair if they had to do something useful for their income, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would only be reasonable that these people that are getting money from government funding are actually providing something for their time and the money that they get paid. But they don't. They come up with just so stories, don't they? They're not validating cause and effect. That's not happening.
It. And has anyone even noticed that the US government spent another $2 billion or so on a new particle collider at Brookhaven? Its purpose is to improve measurements of the quark and gluon distribution inside of heavy ions.
No, to be fair enough, right, the Glocken-Fluken distribution amongst heavy ions is very, very important work. I'm not going to deny it.
What's it good for? You're not supposed to ask.
How dare you even suggest that it doesn't have a very valid and useful purpose of smashing stuff together underground in these tubes, like they've been doing since the 1960s? Build a bigger one! What's your problem? I don't seem to understand why you would even question this. Very valid science, in quotes, being done there. Measuring the smashing gluton heavy nonsense monsters. Or whatever she said.
Supposed to believe that you're too stupid to understand what it's good for.
Exactly. You're just too stupid to understand what it's good for when you're smashing stuff together.
But let me fill you in. It's good for keeping particle physicists employed. Meanwhile, the Chinese are laughing their asses off that you think it makes your country worth defending. That particle physicists have created these bubbles.
Yeah, it's going to grind me every time she calls these people physicists. They're not. Physics is the study of the physical and natural world adjudicated by natural science. That's the scientific method. Exclusively. That is physics.
Bubbles of useless research is not a problem that can be fixed from inside the community. The only way to fix the problem is to stop paying them. I'm afraid that...
No, the way to stop them is to elucidate what they're doing by way of telling the world how science has been hijacked. That's what we're doing in 2025. That's our sole objective. That's our main purpose. It's our raison d'etre. That's why we're here. That's why we're covering your video, to point out that people like you hijack the terminology of science, that's cause and effect reasoning based on observation of naturally occurring phenomena, and keeping, as you call it, physicists, loosely defined, employed. Go ahead, whoever that was.
But Nathan, didn't they find the God particle?
And that turned into what? Did it provide something useful to humanity, Neil?
I think not.
This to
This
me
is
seems
exactly
like
what's
it's a
going to
response to Doge, and a lot of them are crapping themselves up. The gravity trend's going to stop.
I don't care really. I mean, beyond us pointing out what pseudoscience is, what happens to these people after the fact, which is kind of what she's covering, is inconsequential to me. I don't care. What, they go on the breadline? No offence to you, Sabine. I'm only concerned about me and my own family in that regard. But in terms of us exposing their total disregard for science, I'll do that all day long. Will I concern myself with what happens to them after the fact? No. Definitely not. Are they concerned about me? No. I don't see them super chatting, sending me PayPals, worrying about whether or not I can feed the kids this week. They're not worried about me. Why the hell would I worry about them? Meanwhile, they are still getting paid. They've done quite nicely till now, haven't they? So good for you. You bled it dry, and now the gravy train, as it's just been put by one of our compadres in Discord, is about to run dry. Oh well. Yeah, did you suckle at that teat long enough? Now you'll have to find a different teat to suckle at.
But I think that's the problem, Nathan. That's why they're worried. See, if you lay down science and the scientific method, there's going to be a lot of people on the unemployment line, Nathan.
Like I say, Neil, I don't care. I've been on the unemployment line plenty of times in my life. Nobody came from the science community to pity me, did they?
Happen. I didn't want this to happen. This is why I wrote my 2017 comment. But at this point, it's too late for them to change anything about it. I've read this email dozens of times, and each time I'm stunned.
What, while you were drafting it? Why would you have read it dozens of times unless you were changing things in it?
by how condescending it is to all the people who do honest work and whose taxes pay for academic jobs. It makes me sick. And it makes me glad that I no longer have anything to do with this so-called research area that's rotten to the core. If you're one of the many physicists who know full well what nonsense research I'm talking about, but you still keep your mouth shut, if you're one of those who laugh about me because no one believes what I'm saying, if you're one of those who spread lies about me, like that story that I was invited to give a talk at CERN but was afraid to go, did you?
Oh, did you not go to CERN to see them smashing the particles together and that? Oh, what a shame. Should I start a picket line? Should we go out and protest?
Make that up? I hope it was amusing. But Jesus, you...
We don't think we had any swearing up until now, so we'll just...
Your problem isn't that I'm making noise. Your problem is that you're lying to the people who pay you. Your problem is that you're cowards without a shred of scientific integrity.
How dare you?
Your problem is that every bubble eventually bursts. By the way, the reason I now call it nonsense...
Go on.
There's a big bubble about to burst, and that's the globe.
Shout out to Unif Toxfemu. That pseudoscience always takes all money. Thank you for the super chat.
Research and no longer bullshit research is that YouTube flags the latter as profanity, and we don't want to be profane on this channel. That would be absolutely terrible. All right, let me know what you think about all this in the comments.
I've done a response video, so that's quite cool. It gives me an opportunity to suggest that at Sabine's behest personally, you should toddle along to her channel and let her know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that won't immediately get eradicated by the YouTube censor bots, or Sabine herself. So politely let her know that we have responded to her video, which came out only 4 days ago. And has had 2.2...
Did she swear at the end of that?
Say again, Neil?
Did she swear at the end of that video?
Yeah, she's quite pleased with herself about it, actually, Neil.
Yeah, wait till the end.
Oh, yeah. Does she call people a doo-doo head?
There are many reasons why you might not want other people to get your private information, and yes, I have reasons. This is why I signed up to Incogni, who've been sponsoring this video. You see, each time you open a website, doing this takes up a lot of time. Incogni moved. There are 51 my personal detail. I'll sleep better at night, and maybe I can help you sleep better too.
Is that what you were referring to?
If you use my code Sabine or the custom link in the info below, you'll get sick.
Is that it?
Are you a heliocentric pseudoscientist who's struggling to sleep at night?
Very good. Okay, so yeah, as I say, I've just dropped a link to Sabine Hossenfelder's video, so please let her know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed. Hopefully, should Sabine do a response in that regard, she'd put a link to my video. Same goes for anybody else we do response videos to. The idea being that you going along, sharing the YouTube algorithmic love with comments and views would result in them doing the same for us. Chance would be a fine thing. Well, that was fun.
What's everyone think the topic was that she's been so vague about?
People bullshitting in science. Don't listen to their bullshit science. Use my bullshit science is probably her objection, I would imagine. Shout out to Original D-Rose. Recognised her voice. My favourite dits. Okay, fair enough. Thanks for the super chat.
You put a little makeup on and done a half for this one.
Bible U asks, do men get called ditzy too? Absolutely yes. There's plenty of ditzy men.
Yeah, look at Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't a ditzy male.
I posted a video
pseudoscientist.
about Neil deGrasse Tyson in the chat this morning, and he is an absolute moron in this video.
Exactly. He's a ditz pseudoscience fool.
Oh, fair enough. Well, he has his moments. He's a good magician sometimes.
That I'll give him. He's a very good magician.
Indeed, he do. So we're going to toddle along to politics tomorrow. We could do a bit of Earth Awakenings today.
Yeah, let's pop in there.
Shall we have a look?
Brian said there's some really good guys there.
In Earth Awakenings?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. What are they on? Yeah, they've got a whole bunch of people in there. Right, keep your voices down just temporarily as we join.
Possibly a wind shear that they encountered right at the ground, and basically the plane fell out of the sky real close to the ground, and that's what causes that.
I mean, but we are on par. This is about the average every year. I mean, you know, remember, the news cycle is strange. Now, the election season is done, all these kind of sort of things, right? So, during last year, the election season was hot. Before that, all the COVID stuff and, people, just arbitrarily making up stuff about Joe Biden. So now, the news cycle is pretty slow. So we're hearing about all of the incidents, right?
Yeah, Robert's correct. These are normal numbers, actually. These are actually normal numbers for January and February. But do you guys find that acceptable? 1.2 a day or something? You know what I mean? That's crazy in my...
Yeah, that's boring.
Now he's off.
Boring.
Oh, no, he came back.
Welcome back.
Yeah, it was boring. They were talking about Biden. Very tedious.
Was that our favorite Jamaican?
Yeah, that was another reason to immediately disappear. He seemed happy enough talking about stuff that wasn't Earth-related.
What were they talking about?
Biden. Politics. Which is weird, because we go to the politics server and it's very flat Earth focused. There's a whole bunch of other servers I've got on here. I've got Flatsoid server on here as well. I didn't know I got that on there. Is Flatsoid server any good?
We'll have a look-see.
There's also Flat Earth 24/7 Discord, which I typically toddle along to, and there's never anybody in there because they're all in politics. Yeah, that's completely deserted. Let's have a look in Flatsoid server, see if anybody's in. Nope, nobody's in there either.
No, there's 2 people in a 24/7.
Oh, is there?
In a chill lounge. Yeah, like 2 people in a chill lounge.
24/7 Discord. Oh yeah, there is a couple of people.
They're on the opposite side of the street.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going? We're not interrupting,
It's good,
are we?
man. No, just looking into this new info about the JFK files. What you up to?
About the what? JFK what?
The JFK files. They just released some more information.
Okay. No, I hadn't noticed, or I hadn't got a clue about that. No, sorry.
Did he say Earth is flat?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll leave you to it. We're just toddling around to some different services, lurking around.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're just hanging out, seeing if people want to drop in.
Fair enough.
See what we're up to.
We might pop back.
Okay.
See you later.
Good to see you, Nathan. Be well.
You too. Be well.
Bye.
Bye. Don't forget to write.
No one's come to me with any suggestions for new servers, so I've put the call to action out a few times. I'm like, if you want us to toddle along to any particular servers, let us know, and I'll see if I can join and build up a bit of rapport with their owner or operator and, toddle along to different places. But no one's come up with any suggestions. And I'm no Discord lover. I don't spend any time beyond the show in these places. I barely know how to use the software.
I say we crash Gem Panda's server.
What's that called?
I don't know. I'll see if I can find it.
If I haven't already got it, then I probably can't join. It doesn't look like I've already got it. Sorry, Neil.
I've attempted a couple of times, Nathan, on different servers, like gaming servers, to set up debates and to get people here. And what mostly happens is the person agrees to a debate, but then before the debate, they need my model. They need all the arguments I'm going to present. And they need all these caveats and certain circumstances to happen. And then it never does. So I've tried for you, but it's hard to get people to debate live, unfortunately.
Nah, fair enough. Well, that's why it's good to have politics as much as, I've said, oh, well, let's see what else is available, where else we can go. Politics has consistently been good every single time we've gone, and we have been going for a good solid year now, every single Friday. And it's always good. I mean, it's typically slow starting, right? We'll get there on a Friday morning, and unless there's something going off immediately when we get there, it normally takes a little while to get into when we're in the live stream.
Yeah, we get to talk to global leaders, which is always fun.
Yeah. But it does actually
For a
seem
while.
relatively neutral. I mean, they probably let me get away with more than I should. Got a
Maybe
link
we
from...
can pop in there now unannounced. I'll
In
be
politics?
a few friendlies who can help us out.
Nah, I don't want to go in there today. We'll go in there tomorrow. We already went in there once this week. Not that I'm sure they'd mind us just toddling along. But I think we might cover this. So Diver and Droid sent a video. FED server member Len1984 shared this in the Discord chat. I found it very interesting. Exposed by Ben Shapiro. The moment Ben Shapiro realised Neil deGrasse Tyson... ... Okay, well, we'll cover that. As we've got half an hour left on the show. Maybe a bit less.
I think Ben Shapiro stumbled into this not expecting to have a debate. I think he's genuinely caught off guard a bit.
If we were actually going to have a discussion about gender and sex, that should be based in data.
I'm happy to opine on this.
And a bit shocked by the nonsense that he's hearing.
This only matters because today we segregate nearly all sports by gender.
To be faced with a famous scientist spouting...
He's not a scientist.
Nonsense at this level is...
He's always spouting nonsense at all levels. That's what he is, a nonsense spewer. It's just because it's not necessarily related to the subject that you've got a keen interest in that you normally let the nonsense that he spews breeze on by.
It's extraordinary.
Otherwise, why do we even give a shit?
This is the point that Neil deGrasse Tyson continues to make. It's the only point he can really make is, why are you pointing out scientific fact here? Why do you care about this?
If we actually live in a free country, as we tell ourselves, people's freedom to behave in any of those ways should not concern you at all.
And the problem is that when someone's rights trample the rights of others.
What is unresolved here is, what do you do with sports?
He puts out his class.
Why has he even got an opinion on this? I don't really understand what this is all about. Is it just coincidence, i.e. an unrelated topic, he's ended up exposing himself as a nonsense waffler and people have noticed more than they would typically? Is that all this is?
Classic argument of the future of sports is through hormonal levels, and those who fall within not male and female sports.
And I've tried to think of what the future of sports would be in the world of a gender spectrum. And it may be, you don't specify whether it's a male or female sport. You just take measurements of what your hormonal balances are.
What the bloody hell is he babbling about? Okay, I mean...
Wait, it gets better.
Oh, does it? I was about to cut away. thinking this is unrelated or too unrelated.
Pin's face there. He's just kind of like, okay, I see some problems here, but
You talk in your book about the education of children and teaching children about science. And right
Yes.
now, children are being taught about the quote-unquote gender spectrum, which is not scientifically based. That is a theory-based idea.
Theory, like what? In a context of science, theory comes after scientific validation's been provided through systematic experimentation based on hypothesis after observing natural phenomena. That's a theory. So Shapiro doesn't know what he's babbling about either.
Idea.
No, wait, hold on. People express themselves on a spectrum. So you learn that.
That's
Wasn't it the case maybe only 10 years ago that when you described someone as being on the spectrum, that was how disabled mentally you were?
that's
Why are they using the same terminology? I don't keep up with mainstream anything, typically speaking. What I do, when I occasionally get exposed to it, pay attention to, is the language that they're using. He's just described people, in terms of gender at least, as being, quote, on the spectrum. Like, isn't that an interesting turn of phrase he's used?
That's a social point, not a scientific point.
It's been starting to articulate the difference between a social construct and a scientific fact.
Meaning we express ourselves...
Hold on.
So scientific fact. I don't think that... I'm under the suspicion that the host doesn't know what science is either. Shapiro doesn't. Tyson definitely doesn't. And I suspect the host doesn't either.
None of them do.
Based in different languages. Is that something you teach in science class, or is that something that you teach when you're teaching language?
So whether the fact that people want to express themselves on a spectrum, on a gender spectrum.
It's like buzzwords. He's got buzzwords that he needs to get out there. On the gender spectrum. Being on the spectrum is, as far as I'm concerned, in terminology, a description of mental disability. Now, it can't be coincidence that this science communicator's using this language when there's plenty of people in opposition to the gender agenda, the rights and freedoms and privileges given to them as a group being challenged, suggests that the... I don't know how to put this really without necessarily flagging something on YouTube. Should we carry on with this? Because I'm probably getting dangerously close to a line I don't want to cross. Or don't need to.
Yeah, carry on. A few more minutes. You'll see.
Whether that fact is something you want to put in a sociology class or in a science class, maybe that remains to be determined.
It either is a scientific objective fact.
What do you mean by scientific objective fact there, sir? Objective facts are objective facts. When it comes to science, it's elucidation of the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena that's been established through systematic experimentation. Now, I wouldn't describe that as an objective fact. I'd describe that as scientific validity. Sometimes called, what was the word? Theory?
Or it's not. You should know this, being the guy who wrote the book on teaching children scientific fact. And notice he just completely evades that. Doesn't address what Ben just said.
So
the question is, what is the relationship of that to biology? Meaning that the argument is made that trans women are women, for example. And what that seems to mean is that trans women are identical to women. Now, if people want to say trans women are not biological women, obviously that is the case.
Why is Shapiro even having this discussion with Neil deGrasse Tyson? I don't really get it. Anybody care to enlighten me why this is even happening?
I would think, my opinion is that being that Neil deGrasse is a pseudoscience and a pseudophysicist, whatever, astrophysicist, and he pretty much likes to purport things and assert things as if his word is bond and he speaks truth. Ben, who is considered like a person that reveals fallacies and, false claims, he's trying to use that as an example. But we would do it in a different way. So it's almost like Ben is about the realism that men are men, women are women. He's been having friction and resistance against him for the longest. He's even hated for it, among other things. And I guess he has one opinion on it. And Neil, I like to hear what he has to say, because I feel that he's going to be like, well, no, because technically in the scientific, there are some facts that says scientifically that the science says that, some men, and some women, do have some type of scientific, and he's going to be talking a bunch of rhetoric. So I think that's what this whole thing is kind of corroborating with pseudoscience versus science biology.
Case. But people don't seem to want to say that, although that is obviously scientifically true. Trans women are not biological women. Biological women are biological women.
But where are you going with this? What are you trying to accomplish by asking yourself, is it science or is it not science?
But he's completely circumventing whether or not it is a scientific objective fact. Regardless of how you want to use that fact, where does that fit into the larger story? And the story is more important than the scientific fact. Well, that fits into the sponsor of today.
Warren, mate, try and string an entire sentence together. That's one sentence with 4 edits. Bloody hellfire.
Is video Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that lets you compare perspectives on any topic with full transparency on the political bias, financial incentives, the article links. That's what code on the screen. Viewers get the top.
Suddenly it doesn't matter to say things that are just true.
And it's shocking to me to see a famous scientist.
He's not a scientist.
Make an actual argument against objectively simply make a scientific observation without being asked, why do you want to make that observation?
Sorry, scientific observation, there's no such beast. There's observation of naturally occurring phenomena. There's then a supposed cause put to that in the form of a scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis. Then there's the actualization of said presumed cause to see if it actually causes the effect you observed at step 1. Now, you're talking about this like there's objective scientific facts. Now, you're just talking about objective truth when it comes to defining things, like men and women. That's not science. Saying that's a man, that's a woman, that's giving things names. Yeah, putting them into categories. That's not science.
Like, why is it bad or wrong to point out?
I have another way to approach this. I care what is objectively true in the world as a scientist.
But what?
Oh, really? You call yourself a scientist? Now you're a fraud, Tyson. You're not validating presumed cause of effects to see if they actually cause the effects. That's science. You're not doing it.
And just said a moment ago was objectively true. And your response was, well, where are you going with this?
I just simply care what is objectively true. And science happens to be a pretty potent path to invoke, to find out what is true. And so if people express themselves on a gender spectrum, and that is an action.
5th time he's used that terminology. On the spectrum, yep. I will say what I hesitated to say last time. I'll stop myself, but I will say it. There are people who detract from anything to do with transgenderism by suggesting that they're mentally ill. That is to say, people who want to change from being a man to a woman have a mental disability. Now, that isn't my view. It's the view of plenty of others, and I'm sure that's pretty well documented, so no one's going to object to me putting that out there. But that's why I suddenly question his 5th time use of this term on the spectrum.
Actual thing in an actual society.
In an actual society, what, as opposed to a pretend one? What are you on about?
If we have not fully explained that scientifically, that's...
You're not explaining... Explanations don't... You validate cause and effect with science, right? Yeah, because you use it to give just so stories, you think that you're offering explanations. No, you explain cause of effects. That's what science is. It's very, very narrow.
That's an interesting frontier to study.
Okay. I'm not sure why you're even going into this. Why are you arguing against objective science and objective fact?
Why do you keep calling objective descriptions of things science when science establishes the cause of naturally occurring phenomena through systematic experimentation based on scientific prediction, otherwise known as hypothesis? That's the scientific method. None of this is science. Nothing in this video whatsoever is science. Nothing that the host, this guy, has said is related to science or has any reason to have any scientific terminology ascribed to it whatsoever. But yet this guy has said the word science about 16 times.
It's real and it's there.
Well,
because it's real because it manifests.
But it is real because it manifests. But the question of of how to classify manifestation is a scientific question.
Really? Is it? How to describe manifestation is a scientific question? No. A scientific question would be, what caused that effect? It's the only scientific question.
Are there some topics that should not be studied scientifically? I think the
Studied scientifically is to establish or elucidate the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. Oh my God, this is getting more and more frustrating. Bullshitters.
But Nathan, excuse me, Nathan.
Yes.
If you notice, now I'm gonna be honest. On the thread, your live thread, I said be right back. I went and ate. I caught the tail end before I interjected. I told you this. Now that thanks to QE and you, that we have really learned and went back and found out the fundamental, foundational source and meaning and denoted etymological meaning of scientist, scientific, science theory, all of this. Now you know how many different really avenues and angles that this word science is being convoluted with. I mean, you got these two guys, and you even got Neil that said, well, actionality, the actions of a guy wearing a dress or calling himself Sarah or Betty or Debbie, whatever, Brenda, that's the end, and walking around like that, that's an action. So that's an observed phenomenon.
No,
See, they even deeper, they deeper convoluted said, you're watching that, that's not a natural phenomenon. That's like you said, a psychotic, delusional.
No, I don't suggest
No, it's
that. No,
man-made.
I don't take that opinion. Right, I've put that out there because it's to contrast his use of language, not because I hold that opinion. Now, you're entitled to whatever opinion you like, D-Rose, right? I don't care, yeah? If you want to wear a dress and you're a man, good for you. If you want to transition from being male to female or female to male, good for you, I don't care. That's your bag. It's nothing to do with me and I don't care, right? Now, the fact that it's a hot potato in political terms is also neither in or there. The only thing that's relevant to us in this context is Neil deGrasse Tyson as an individual is a pseudoscience purveyor of heliocentrism, and here he is being exposed as a pseudoscientist on a different subject. Now, I have no skin in this race. I don't have any interest in the transgender agenda. I don't care. Now, if you want to air your opinions about it, feel free to do so elsewhere. My only interest in this discussion is the exposure of all three participants. That's Shapiro, Tyson, and the host, William Warren, whatever his name is. Actually, I should do a call to action to him as much as I did for Sabine Hossenfelder. This channel is called Warren Smith Secret Scholar Society. That's the name of the channel. That sounds familiar. Have we covered this guy before? That's a familiar name. Maybe not. We'll see. Either way, please let this videographer know, that's Warren, know. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, there's 108 people in the live stream chat. He's not as big, anywhere near as big as Sabine. He's a lot bigger than us. But please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite comment that doesn't immediately get removed. The idea being if he was to respond to us, and he might be a softer, more gentle way in, as we're not necessarily critiquing him as much as Tyson and Shapiro. If he was to respond, hopefully he'd put a link to my video. But in the meantime, if you are one of the 110 people in my live stream, please do pop along to Warren's video, pop him a like, pop him a comment, help him along in the YouTube algorithm. Hopefully he'd do the same for me. But there's a link going by in the chat right now.
Hold on, before you continue, Nathan. I can't get an audience with this guy about science and about flat Earth. He will not even come near us, but he'll talk about this. This is a joke.
Yep. And I wanted to say, I apologize, Nathan. I redact what I said. This is not Nathan's opinion. He's unbiased. He's indifferent. But my opinion, I was the same way until, and thanks to President Trump for putting an executive order to cease and desist all transgender males participating in female sports, getting in their lockers, being in their jail cells and their showers, which is unsafe for real heterosexual biological females. Now I'm more than indifferent. I consider it something that needs to be destroyed as an ideology and not allowed. It should be an underground format lifestyle, and it should not be supported by legislation, how the United States is letting it be, and a lot of other countries are letting it be, and are now under journalistic investigation by Candace Owens with France, if y'all been following that. So this is a good subject, and it's a good subject like you said, how you have somebody like Neil. I don't even know why he's there because he's not even a scientist. Like you said, he's not even, qualified to speak on anything, personally, anything. He's a clown. But carry on.
Okay.
Good morning, guys.
Hello. Got any comment on the transgender subject, Chocolate?
Not any comment in particular, except that I've brought it up before that Mr. Smoking the Grass Tyson here is losing his credibility, even in his mainstream nonsense, because of his stance on this subject. So I just find it kind of funny. Sorry, I missed the episode pretty well. I just got here.
Oh, perfect. Your summary, like mine in this regard, Chocolate, because your sentiment is the same as mine. Our only interest in this is the expose or exposing of Neil deGrasse Tyson's science acumen, which typically people just accept when he's talking about space. They don't question it. Whereas when it's something that's near and dear, which isn't in my case near and dear, I don't care about this particular subject. And again, if you're perhaps transgender in the audience and going, what, you don't care about me and my rights? Well, no, when it's on my live show about Flat Earth debate, I don't. If you want my opinion because it's come up, I think it's a good thing that there's a certain swing towards finding rights for people that might be persecuted. It's swung too far, but things have a way of sort of swinging back the other way to the point where they balance out. So if you look in past history of homosexuality being maybe in the 60s and 70s, extremely ridiculed, and then throughout the 70s and 80s, it swung too far the other way, and it's up in everybody's faces. Now it's reached a level where it's kind of indifference, and you have enough gay rights, and nobody's moaning, right? But it's not a big deal because suddenly it's not being brought to everyone's attention with a massive swing too far in the favour of, in this case, a transgender agenda that people don't necessarily agree with when it comes to the basics of the principles that are being adhered to by the people who are transgender, who are in a really tiny minority. But they shouldn't be persecuted. So in a way, it's good that these things come to a head because they can swing back and neutralise eventually. But we're at the extreme end of the swing. So yeah, people are going to get hip about it. Me, I don't really care. No offence if you're transgender. Me, a transgender lesbian woman, I think I've got a right to have an opinion on it.
Concern is if you study some topic that's a hot button topic and you bring scientific methods and tools to it.
Scientific methods.
Did he pluralize it?
It's the Lone Rangers. No, there's only one method, Tyson. Singular.
We don't trust. I'm interpreting here. I think we as a society don't trust that people in charge,
yeah, here it comes,
in a free country won't try to legislate something that will constrict people's freedoms.
That's all government do. That's their purpose. What's he babbling about?
Be clear here, Neil deGrasse Tyson is making an argument for not exploring the scientific explanation for certain topics.
You don't have scientific explanations for certain topics, you're an idiot. I'm just going to say it. It was a suspicion until this moment. Now I can just say it. You have no idea what you're babbling about. You don't know what science is.
Better not to know what could be.
He's closing his eyes because he's trying to think of the words that he's trying to express this nonsense waffle with. You don't know what you're babbling about. Now, you'd be really clear and concise like I am if you actually knew what science was. The elucidation of the cause of naturally occurring phenomena through systematic experimentation based on hypothesis. That's science. Nothing that you just spewed had anything in the slightest relatable to that method.
Known. It's truly remarkable.
My general take on all of this stuff, from climate change to gender dysphoria to all of these issues, is bring out the science and then let's hash it out.
Bring out the science? Would you roll it out on a little cart? It's a method. A method that elucidates the cause of naturally occurring phenomena. If you've got a naturally occurring phenomena that you want to know the cause of, then science can help you out. In terms of you and your ability to vary and manipulate that which you assume will cause the effect you're studying. That's like, you're going to roll that out and then discuss There's not a great deal to discuss once you validate the presumed cause of an effect. It becomes a validated cause. From there, you can advance humanity with that information. That's what science is good for. Advancing humanity.
I think that the problem I'm seeing on a lot of sides is...
What is your motivation?
That's the key point in this entire dialogue, is what is your motivation for asking these questions?
That's a fallacy. Appeal to motivation. Who gives a shit?
Delving into this scientific truth.
Why? Why does that...
Oh, if he says it one more time, he must have said it 20 times. Scientific truth is offered through the experimentation based on hypothesis after observing phenomena that you want to know the cause of. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask, how are you gonna put climate change or climate emergency through the scientific method?
You're not.
Yeah, that's the whole point. They know these things cannot be validated through scientific method, so they're gonna go down on pseudoscience and they're gonna constantly claim them as science. It's the power word.
Does that matter?
It matters because if you have political power, you could end up creating legislation that subtracts freedoms from people who previously were enjoying the same freedoms as you. The history of that exercise
Then make a better argument.
Doesn't end well.
Well, but the history of which exercise? Bring out all the science and let's hash it out.
Well, your crappy argument, Shapiro, based on your lack of understanding of science.
You can make a better observation grounded in...
Here we go, fallacy of division.
Fact, logical reasoning, then that should win out. Because that will get us, that is more likely to get us where we are trying to go.
What, using logical reasoning will get us where we're more likely to wanting to be going? What is this nonsense shite waffle that these people babble?
The history of that exercise is a recipe for disaster.
What, rolling out the science as an exercise? I mean, you're just both talking nonsense at each other, aren't you, at this point?
If it involves discoveries that put people's freedom as defined in our Constitution at risk.
But now you're arguing for limitations on areas of particular study.
Should they be let into the public domain of knowledge, then it could be wielded by politicians.
So what's the public domain of knowledge? It's just some term you've made up, right? Nonsense waffler.
In ways that I don't like, so it's better that people are kept in the dark about these realities.
No.
Well, what realities would they be? This people, right? Are they just pseudo-intellectuals, sniffing their own fart? Pretending to be intellectuals and pretending to be intelligent when they talk total nonsense?
Arguing on, we need a way to shield, we need a way to protect people's freedoms in the face of whatever gets discovered scientifically.
So, scientific endeavours don't challenge people's freedoms. They simply elucidate the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. You're cross-threading in this idea of freedom, which is a concept, with the idea of science, which you haven't got a clue about. So I can't really suggest that you're contrasting it with the assertion of cause and effect reasoning based on experimentation, because that definitely isn't what they're talking about when they say science. So what are they contrasting it with? Well, they're contrasting it with nonsense waffle from other pseudoscience practitioners who'll give you just so stories. And that, stopping people's freedoms. Okay.
So I agree. I think that's what the Constitution is for.
It's truly remarkable to see one of the most famous scientists in the world make an argument.
He's not a scientist at all.
Literally, for not allowing people to gain knowledge in...
Oh my God, spit a single sentence out, you're driving me absolutely insane! How many frickin' edits do you need to put one single sentence together without stuttering, pausing, or finding your frickin' thoughts in the middle of being filmed? I mean, my God, man, you're insufferable. You've driven me to the edge of insanity in less than 9 minutes. My God, that was difficult. In the meantime, please let him know. That's Warren, lovely chap that he is. At Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a nice polite comment that alludes that we've covered his video. Stuttering nonsense, waffling garbage that it was. I mean, lovely guy, help him in the YouTube algorithm.
Hey Nathan, I want to commend you on how you're doing this video, man, because is very important, being that the science term and the science definition, that way you're breaking it down and exposing how through legislation, by using science as some type of plausible way of like saying it's justified to change legislation to grant these so-called freedoms, which is it's a false path, because one is not the same with the other, because it's wasting our taxpayers' money and it's investigating something scientific that's not even the scientific category. Psychological category, in my opinion, yes. But still, you know, it's this is how the United States in particular pulls the wool over people's eyes and gets the support during these polls and during these little these different electoral things where they added on the elections and say, are you for or against yada yada yada. And this is how they waste our money, and that's what's being broken down right now as we speak by this administration, for all of this unnecessary spending on crap like this. If you want to wear a dress and you think you a female giraffe, Johnny, that's fine. But we're not going to support you with our money to help you on a discovery of something that has nothing to do with that you're going to find in nature.
Okay. I had no idea you had such a transgender bee in your bonnet, D.
It's no, it's not that. It's the whole thing. And see, I got children, and everybody that has a child, they're grooming children, bro. They're making children who believe that their finger is a gun, that they can fly with freaking cardboard tied to their arms, that if he believes he's a girl, then that's it. He probably is a girl. This is what I'm against for it.
Okay.
Adults do what they want to do.
We can discuss it in the after show. Shout out to Duncan McLeod. He says the music is tailored to elucidate deep thought. Manipulative AF. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Duncan. What we'll do on the end of this stream is go through the scientific method for my audience. So step 1, observe a naturally occurring phenomena. That is to say, something that occurs in nature that you can see actually happening. That's step 1. Once you've established a naturally occurring phenomena, you can move forth with half of the established hypothesis already in place. That is to say, you've already got your dependent variable. That is to say, the effect you observed at step 1 is half of the hypothesis. That's the dependent variable. So the other half of the hypothesis, that's scientific prediction, is your supposed cause of the effect you observed at step 1. That's your suppositional statement complete, because you have an if and then statement. If your suppositional cause, then the dependent variable, aka the effect you observed at step 1. So the if and then statement, known as an alternative hypothesis, is then established. Your independent variable and your dependent variable. Your presumed cause and the effect you observed at the first step. Alongside that, in step 2, that's hypothesis construction, is a null, otherwise known as a zero difference result, which is to say you vary and manipulate that which you assume will cause the effect, and it doesn't cause the effect. In the prediction, it's a if A, not B statement. In other words, zero difference or null hypothesis. So that's the full hypothesis construction. Step 2, establish the cause in suppositional form with the effect you observed alongside a null. Step 3, vary and manipulate that which you assume will cause the effect to see if it is actually going to cause the effect or not. That's to say, you experiment by varying that which you assume will cause the effect to see if it causes it. If you validate your alternative hypothesis, it means you varied your presumed cause and it caused the effect. Ka-ching! You've got a validated cause and effect relationship. That's to say you've got a validated experiment. The only addition to that is to say that the experimental stage calls for systematic experimentation to alleviate the idea of having somebody who's so idiotic that they will formulate an incorrect hypothesis or put together an incorrect apparatus or something of that nature. Get it wrong at the experimental stage. So the method, that's the scientific method, calls for systematic experimentation. So repeated experimental validity must be offered to the presumed cause to continually validate that it is actually the established cause of the effect. Now, the method is empirical because at the hypothesis stage, you can't both cause and not cause the effect. That's to say, once you vary and manipulate that which you assume causes the effect, and it does cause the effect, it can't also not cause it. You can't validate the null and the alternative at the same time. Only one will be proven. Either you vary and manipulate your presumed cause and it causes the effect, or it doesn't. But if it doesn't, you have proven the alternative hypothesis. There is a tick placed next to that scientific prediction. If A, not B, tick. Validated by way of varying it and seeing that it didn't cause it. That's a scientific prediction that's been validated. So even if you don't actually establish the cause of the effect, at the end of the method of science, an empirical outcome will always be offered. So that is the method of science, otherwise known as the scientific method, otherwise known as natural science, otherwise known as physics. That's the study of the physical and natural world. But with that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.